The Earthshot Prize will launch a global search every year for eco-innovators with solutions to 5 Earthshot goals: protect and restore nature, clean our air, revive our oceans, build a waste-free world, and fix our climate. The Earthshot Prize was first launched in 2021 with 3 African organizations selected as finalists. Well, Newzroom Afrika's Hugo Ribatika is at the Earthshot Prize and MultiChoice media partnership launch in Nairobi, Kenya, and joins us live for an update. Hugo, very good afternoon to you. A very interesting, competition to be a part of, speaking to the global concerns that are currently under the spotlight.
Paul, you're absolutely right. Incredible competition. In fact, it's been an absolutely amazing day today. Multiple performances by local artists here in Kenya, but also some very interesting conversations around conservation and regeneration of the earth, if you will. And you speak about interesting. Well, it's £1 million worth of interesting, if you will, and that's like 20 million rand if you are one of the winners. And there are 5 winners every year in those 5 pillars that we spoke about. But I don't want to steal all the thunder, because I've got Hannah Jones, who's the Chief Executive Officer of Earthshot Prize, and she's going to speak to us right now. Hannah, thanks so much for taking time out of what I know is a very, very busy schedule. But let's start at the beginning. When was this idea formulated? How was it birthed?
Well, it's a great question. Thank you so much for everything. We're having an incredible time here in Kenya. The idea was actually birthed in Namibia. Prince William, who is our founder and the president of the Earthshot Prize, was visiting a conservation project in Namibia that he felt really passionate about. But he was struck by 2 things. The conservation project was enormously successful, and yet it wasn't being spotlit, nobody knew about it, and it wasn't being scaled or replicated in similar regions around the world. And what he also noticed was that the general dialogue about climate change at the time, if you think back to 2019, was really angry, with a lot of fear, a lot of anxiety. And he thought that that was probably something that in the end, while we needed to mobilize people and activists to do their job, fear actually shuts people down and gets them into paralysis. So he wanted to do something about it, and he took inspiration from President Kennedy's moonshot challenge to the American people. And if you remember 60 years ago, or a little bit longer than that, President Kennedy challenged the American people and said, we will land a man on the moon and bring him home safely within the decade. Now, what that unleashed was 2 things. It unleashed an innovation wave that actually fueled economic and social progress far beyond the impact of Apollo landing a man on the moon. But what it also did for the American people in particular was it sparked their imagination, and it made the seemingly impossible feel possible. And if you had human ingenuity and grit and collaboration, you could actually achieve anything. And that's the mindset and the challenge that we want to set the world with the Earthshot Prize. We want to unleash waves of innovation. We want to spotlight the innovators that are already doing incredible work to repair the planet. We want to give them the capital and convene partners around them to support them going to scale. And then we want to tell that story and spark the world's imagination. And we want to inspire urgency and optimism. We think those 2 things need together. We want a generation of urgent optimists that are putting action into place right now to change this next decade, which is, in essence, has to be the Earthshot decade.
Well, let's talk about some of those challenges that the Earth is currently facing and where your priorities would lie.
Well, if you follow the news and the science, what you know to be true is climate change is happening to us today. This is no longer something that you can say, oh, it'll be my children or my future grandchildren's problem. It's our problem. You're seeing droughts, you're seeing floods, you're seeing very volatile weather that's impacting hurricanes, for example. And as a result, you're seeing food insecurity, which is a massive issue. You're seeing flows of people needing to leave water-droughted areas, and that creates a migration and a refugee issue. So what we're seeing is at the tipping point, and what we know to be true is that over the next decade, we need to change at least 5 things. We need to make sure that we protect nature, because nature protects us. Biodiversity is one of the most important things we can do to protect our world. Then we need to think about how we protect the oceans and revive the oceans. At the moment, we overfish we put pollutants in there, but actually the ocean is one of the biggest ways to sink carbon, and a healthy ocean means a healthy community for us. We need to think about building a waste-free world. Nature doesn't do waste. Why should we do waste? Let's turn waste into gold and turn it into new assets for our economies and for green jobs. We need to have clean air, because without it, air pollution is a terrible issue for health. And finally, we need to fix our climate and remove carbon from our world.
Well, multiple challenges that face all of us, but there have been some innovators, in fact, from year one that won some of those £1 million prizes. Can you give us maybe an example of one or two of them?
Absolutely. And I have to tell you that as much as when you think about those big issues, it can feel overwhelming. But when you look at the nominations we have coming in over the last 18 months alone, you can be filled with hope and optimism. Let me give you two examples of winners from last year's 2021 cohort. So Takachar, which is run by a man called Vidyut Mohan out of India, was founded because he saw a problem, which was air pollution that was being made when the farmers burnt the agricultural stubble after harvest. And that's created smog, and by the way, created a huge climate issue. So he invented a machine that took the stubble and basically used something like a coffee machine to turn it into very high yield fertilizer that then goes back into the fields and, by the way, helps the farmer raise their income because of more productivity. So he won the prize. Since then, he's gone on to get contracts with others, and he just got nominated to become one of Bill Gates's very prestigious Breakthrough Fellows because of our partnership with the Breakthrough team.
Well, allow me to come in there, because one of the pillars by which you work is scaling. You scale the work that these winners and finalists actually do. Talk to us about that.
Yes, so we are a prize and so much more, because we don't just want to spotlight and award finalists and solutions. We want to use our unique convening platform of bringing our partners together through the global alliance of partners we have, our founding partners, all of whom are corporations, not-for-profits, academics, big philanthropies, big investors, and matchmake between our innovative solutions and all of that capital and talent. So a lot of these companies have amazingly talented people in the team that would jump at being able to go and give advice or volunteer for those organizations. It can make a world of difference, as can the capital. So we are very dedicated on supporting our finalists through the journey with us, and we think of them as family. We stay with them for a long time, and we measure our success by the ability we have to convene and support them in their scaling journey.
Now, Hannah, how do you find me if I've got this really amazing idea?
That's great. Well, hopefully you do. So we have a wonderful community of official nominators, and they are spread around the world. And one of our big focus areas is to make sure that we get nominators who are representative and can bring diversity in. We want to be very certain that we have geographical representation and community representation. Every year they're nominating and bringing in incredible solutions. And so we get to see nominations that probably nobody else does. It gives us a really interesting view of what's happening. And let me tell you, there is an unseen wave of innovation happening. Nobody's watching it, but I'm telling you, it's so exciting. It's going to be the next wave of revolution around the world. And what we're excited about is what's happening here in Africa. So we had last year 3 finalists from Africa. We will be announcing at the end of October our 2022 cohort. So please watch this space for Africa. But what I'm counting on you and on MultiChoice and everyone around is Africa is full of innovation and solutions. We want them to be nominated, and we want Africa really at the center of this conversation.
Well, Hannah, it's been a great conversation indeed. Appreciate your time.
Pleasure. Thank you so much.
So, Paul, that was Hannah Jones, and she's the Chief Executive Officer of the Earthshot Prize, just giving us a summary of what it takes to be one of those finalists or winners. Now, if you have an innovative idea and you would like to pitch that idea, you certainly stand a chance of walking away with £1 million or 20 million rand. Paul.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Let's leave it there for now. Hugo Ribatika giving us a sense of what it takes to be part of this grand competition.